enough for us to sell some smaller conventions. On the destination.
Is that by I-69?
Yeah, Embassy Suites.
Okay.
Yeah, 25,000 square feet.
And then, real quick, economic development you're talking about, or the groups for non-sports, is that mainly focused during the week?
Yeah, the economic development side is the project that we have with Hamilton County Economic Development Corporation, in which we're going to be launching an innovative workforce attraction platform because business development is not possible without workforce attraction, and so we are going to be entering into a contract with them and running a talent attraction program using our marketing skills. So we're going to hire a full-time, using their contract money, we're going to hire a full-time marketing director focused on economic development. And that is because, yes, Monday through Thursday, we are a corporate stay place, yeah. And right now we have so much hotel growth that in the weekends we're fine with sports and leisure.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, we're fine on weekends. We're still running in the high 70s in occupancy. But in the weekdays, we are starting to struggle with all that new inventory online. We're starting to see average daily rate decline, which is because demand is up there.
What percent roughly are you seeing? Is it 55?
No, I just got my report for last week. I mean, occupancy, we're probably still going to be, we're at 66%, I think, for the year. But the weekday is into the 50s and the weekends in the 70s.
Okay.
But obviously there are more weekdays than there are weekends, and Sundays is they're really hard to sell. Sundays are always slow in the hotel business. So, anyhow, yeah, we'll be working with economic development and doing that project. We've already done a lot of research, and we're very excited on the potential there. On the community development side, we will continue to support Nickel Plate Express, which opens on Saturday. Just heard they sold out their first excursion, so I'm very excited for that. We've been a force behind all the Zagstra bicycle installations in the communities, and Fishers will come on as our 4th bicycle share as we continue to try to grow bicycle trails or outdoor recreation as part of one of our core products. We'll continue to support Nickel Plate Arts down the road here. It's critically important as Fishers tries to be the 3rd community in the county to be a designated cultural districts. We're already the county that has 2 cultural districts, and so official cultural districts. We're continuing work on our White River Vision Plan, which is the bi-county agreement that we're working on with Indianapolis and Visit Indy, 58 miles. Had a lot of press on that, a lot of excitement around that. We give about $90,000 in local grants, and then we would really like to start working with the 4-H Fairgrounds on some brand enhancements, some spark, because that facility we feel is even more critically needed now. That we need, we don't have any affordable space, average affordable space, and that space is really going to be important for us. And we've been working with them on software investments to try to be better at tracking their groups, and so now we're trying to take that data, parlay it into what it is that's needed. And I know Susan mentioned that this morning in her session, that we'd like to come back and talk to you about that. So we'd like to fund that.
And are you looking at that would be able to help with the Monday through Thursday?
Yeah, and I think, quite frankly, Monday through Thursday primarily, yes. Yeah. Meetings, helping them in the meeting side. When we looked at their occupancy reports, they're full on weekends, but they could use some more business during the weekday. Absolutely. On the R&D side, we continue to do product development tests out in the marketplace for new things that come online, and we have enough new things. We'll usually test 2 or 3 products. We tested the train and the White River project, for instance, and we have some projects coming online that we'd like to focus on. We're also working on this nightlife activation, 18 hours responsible community kind of thing, where we look and the one thing our cities and towns and our visitors are telling us is after dinner there's not a lot to do that's not sort of a ticketed event, so what can we do to sort of activate an opportunity to go hear some live music. We don't want to be Austin. We want to be responsible and thoughtful about the type of investments we do. We do advertising effectiveness research for every cycle to make sure that we're getting the best ROI possible. And then one of the exciting things that I think is really innovative, and I want to give so much credit to my Smart Team is that we this year paid for a valuation company, and we have 7 facilities throughout the county, sports facilities, nonprofits, that are looking for naming rights. And so we're going to value those naming rights, and then next year we're going to pay someone to go out there and try to sell those either singly or as a bundle, so we can drive some revenue for them. We feel like that's a good way to invest, is to get ROI. There's so many people who come to this community for sports events that's a lot of eyeballs, and we feel like there's a value to that, and that's not money we would keep, that's money they would have to invest in facility enhancements. And then finally, I'm really proud, our operations team has been amazing. We invested a couple of years ago in a new software system that really provides us with detailed tracking and reporting. We continue to get squeaky clean audits as a result of that, and we're also doing more investment in technology to try to provide for better reporting. You ask about hotel inventory and growth, and I've given you a chart. This sort of explains it, although it's very hard to understand our industry. This chart right here on page 4 shows you the rooms available, and we did take a dip because we had a hotel close when the 32 project in Westfield occurred. And then we've seen the growth. We will see 19 will be a slower year. We won't have but 2 properties open end of year, if that. And so we're not planning for much growth in that area, which is good. It gives us a year to kind of catch up on that inventory. We've absorbed an amazing amount of inventory up until now. I mean, we've been really surprised that we've been able to absorb almost all of the inventory, but this year we hit a wall. You can tell weekday is really a struggle. And our hotels are holding rate, which is important, but they're starting to struggle a little bit. We met with them yesterday in a hotel power hour and worked with them on this. Right now we have 66.7% occupancy through the year, and this last bar shows you only the rooms available through August, and so through July, and we'll get the August report on September 18th. And then finally, you would ask about our change in budget and how we're allocating our funds. And so the pie charts, I hope, show you that. We are investing in 3 critical areas, trying to keep operations costs down, try to keep our staff levels down. We use metrics offered up by our national association, our international association, to make sure we're in line. We do more product investment and development than most of our counterparts our size, so it's a little bit difficult, but we're a sales business and a marketing business, and that takes a lot of hands-on activity, and so that's why we do invest in staff. We've invested in giving back to the community. In the time since I've been here, we've distributed over $10 million back to the community. And then also we invest in marketing, obviously, because that's our core competency. And I said finally, but what I really meant finally was that last page. I reiterate the kinds of projects that we're working on, and then you would ask about our new headquarters. As you know, we lease space, and now we're using the economic development lease space. We are on 3 floors and essentially in 3 different buildings. And so we, like you, are facing a space crunch. A couple years ago, we issued an RFP, like you, and got ideas for expansion. Like you, we found it expensive. And so right now, we have an offer on the table for about $2.9 million for a building in Carmel. We're holding that because I know there's some anxiety by this council about us entering into a new building contract. We have done a lease versus own comparison, and one of the reasons our board has been leaning towards owning is because it is a more cost-effective way to do it, even though you do take on the debt. We know it will be complicated to unweave our existing building, but we've worked through that process, and we would like to do that. So, great. Any questions?
I got it. Can you just educate me on this? So if you get 4% says community development, is that the money that gets divvied out to certain groups,
Right.
like
Various
Westfield or whatever?
Right. There's a map in your packet that shows blobs of where we give money out, and also has the lists of the various things that we've done over the last decade, various projects that we've supported.
Who votes on that? I mean, I see you have 2 boards. Kind of educate me on that. So you got one, there's a tourism commission, and there's a tourism board. So
Right. Carrie Williams is president of the Tourism Commission. That's an 11-member board that's appointed by various government entities, including yours. and that board contracts out with us. We are formed under what's called the Uniform Innkeepers Tax Statute, and that allows for a one or a two-board structure. We have always been designed to be a two-board structure. Then our nonprofit board is filled with industry people. We presented this plan to the Tourism Commission in August and got their nod that this is where we can do we will be doing the investments. And so what happens is we make recommendations to them, and then they give us a nod, and then we go in and bundle it into our budget and pass a budget and do this type of.
So that's the one that we appoint people to, right?
Yeah, mhm.
Okay. So is that so the one that we appoint people to, is that like, just an example, like the Westfield locker thing where there's this person says this was spent, this person says that was spent, but is that commission that voted on that? Like the one with Casey Wilson on it, that they vote on that expenditure to go over to Westfield?
A project an investment that large, we did take to the Tourism Commission and got their input and insights. Generally, we get an overall budget with lead projects identified, and then we go in and sort of distribute the money within the tourism budget, but we report back to them quarterly.
Who had the final vote? Like you said,
The Hamilton County Tourism Industry Board had the final vote
So-
because
so
it
the-
was
so
out
the-
of
so
our
the
budget
board-
and not out of their budget.
Okay. So the board that had the ones that elected officials appoint, like we're elected by the people, we turn around and we appoint these people to the board, that board had no vote on that Westfield expenditure.
That's not true, Fred.
No, I'm not saying it's true. I'm asking you, is it true?
It is not true. We took, that project was large, and we took it to the Tourism Commission for input.
Okay, so who voted on that expenditure? Who
The
said yes or
Bureau
no?
Board, with a nod from the Tourism Commission.
Okay, so,
They had told us not to do that, we would have not done that.
okay, so you took it to him and his board and said, is this spent, just like we're doing right here for an expenditure? And they voted yes, go ahead and spend that money in Westfield, because they told me they had no vote when I talked to them. I'm just curious. So I'm just trying to get all this straight and trying to get educated here.
Took it to them not for a vote, but for input, and they gave us a nod. But the budgeted amount was already in the contract to the industry board, and so the industry board chose to use that contracted money to spend the money on the locker improvements program.
Okay, so who voted on that overall budget move to give them the overall budget? I'm just,
The overall budget that
yeah,
Hamilton...
whoever, so they took a chunk of it and put it towards lockers. Who voted to give them that money in the first place?
Gave the money appropriated to the Tourism Commission, and then they gave the contract to us to spend the money.
So there was a vote for Westfield to spend that money, or to give that money to Westfield for that improvement in Grand Park. There was a vote, and it was a vote by the people that were appointed by, that we appoint, and the commissioners appoint, and everybody else.
No, sir, there was a nod.
A nod.
A nod.
Okay, so can you tell me, just to pretend that this is elementary school, explain the difference between a nod and an actual on-the-record vote for me, real quick.
We've had numerous conversations with the Tourism Commission as to whether or not we wanted to move the grant program up to the Tourism Commission level, and they have voted not to take that up to the Tourism Commission level because they feel strongly that we're in the field and we're the ones who know how to spend the money. All they ask is to be informed about how we are going to be spending the money and to be made aware of any issues and concerns.
That's interesting, really interesting.
So what you're,
That is how the statute is designed, Fred.
Okay. yeah.
what you're saying is,
It is.
you tell them, we're going to spend this amount of money, and if they don't say, stop right now, then that's a nod.
Yeah, pretty much.
Brenda,
We have
I've
a-
got a couple questions. Back on page 4, you said it dipped because some hotels closed on.
Well, and we had some rooms closed, and we had like that America's Best Value that used to be a Best Western in Westfield closed. That's part of the 32 expansion. Sometimes we'll have rooms closed. Remember the America's Best Value, the Best Western that was up there on the north? Well, that's because it left. It was,
I mean, that was years ago. I guess I'm looking from 2017 to 2018.
no, 2017, 2018, this is only years available through July.
Okay.
There are only rooms available through July. Does that make sense?
So this isn't okay.
It's just rooms that have been available and then rooms that have been sold.
Okay. So we probably won't have a dip like this shows.
No, we'll have, this year we have 199 plus 99, whatever that is, 398 rooms, 298 rooms come online this year. We had a Fairfield in Carmel and an Embassy Suites at Exit 210 come online, yeah.
My other question on page 5, which I really like.
But it's important to know that they don't all come online these rooms are accounted for when they open, so if a hotel, okay.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry,
I
page,
just, when you said State Road 32, I mean, that was like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
That's, okay.
right, it was the,
On page 5, I like the graphs, I like the pie charts. My question is, if you could define a little bit more, marketing, group sales, sports, visitor experience, does that include like going to Chicago or running ads or Cleveland or wherever?
about $1 million doing that-ish.
Still doing that?
Oh, yeah. We drove 77,000 room nights just from our spring campaign.
And the reason I'm asking is because I had a mayor tell me that he thought you were not doing out-of-market advertising anymore.
We did slow down summer advertising for a couple of years because we didn't have room inventory to sell, and it was frustrating to the visitor. But we are full steam ahead in Chicago, Fort Wayne, South Bend. We're in Midwest Living for the first time in a long time. We have seen an exponential rise, and now we have a really wonderful software tracking program. We can look when they look, and then we can look when they book. So we can actually track hotel room bookings.
Roughly 50% of this is for that media.
Yeah, a little over 50%, yeah. We do a lot of group sales in various submarkets, like, we have a lot of fraternities, educational associations, and so we go to FEA, and we go to all the sports shows and that kind of thing.
I have a question regarding your spreadsheet for the budget forecasting. Friend, and I'm hoping that you can give an explanation. So if we look at what you've budgeted from 2018, outside of July,
And that was an unusual month. We had a hotel check, we had a hotel catch up that month. It was in arrears 3 months, and so
Okay,
on
so-
4 properties, so it was 12.
outside of that
Yeah.
month though, where we see the decrease every other month.
Yep.
has- I mean, you've gone over budget.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is that who is actually looking at the dollars and cents and making sure that you're spending within the dollars you've allocated within your own budget?
Both the tourism board and the appointed commission review budget reports on a regular basis.
They make the decision to continue to overspend what you budgeted, right? Is that what you're?
We're not overspending what we budgeted, though.
So when you say the original, on this document, when it says original budget, 390,000 for January, and the forecast actual, the actual forecast was 400,000, am I reading this incorrectly?
Yeah, but yes,
I know it's cumulative, but I mean, if you make $5,000 a month, you're not going to spend $6,000 if you only had $5,000, right? How you're allocating your dollars. I'm just looking at your spreadsheet, so
Right,
if
right.
there's a different
But yeah,
method. then
this helps us sculpt revenue, so we
Right.
understand how the flow is, right?
Okay, so then if you're looking at it, then your revenue projections or sculpting has been inaccurate in your forecasting.
I would say it's been conservative. I'm usually conservative. Mike Reuter, we met with Mike Reuter last year to talk about our system, and he felt like we have never varied. We've only once in 2009 and 9, which was a kind of a bad year, have we ever not met our forecast goals. And then generally we come in for additional appropriations. What he actually asked us to do was to come in high and budget low. And so that's what, when we go through our final budget cycle in October, November with our board and the Tourism Commission, that's what we will do. We will come in with a lower budget, and then we will start releasing extra campaigns or doing extra things as the year comes along if we feel like we'll make the budget forecast. So what we do is our contract with the Tourism Commission is evenly distributed. Does that make sense? And so they retain the money and then distribute it to us per our contract. So we just spend on pace. We unfortunately are kind of an expensive organization at the beginning of the year. We do a lot of printing, right after the first of the year for the year, and we have a lot of expenses first quarter, but that's probably one of our lower revenue periods, so we have to adjust and work that out.
So for August and September, just curious, because those are actually the larger increases from what you guys had originally. What were those?
Because August will be reflected to June,
Okay.
and next year in
That
June,
helps.
we have some super events. You can't get a room in Hamilton County next June on a weekend. We have some super events, so we know that average daily rate will be up, and will drive that kind of revenue. And similarly, we're hoping the same thing will happen in July. So usually, the little thing you don't see out here are lots of notes that we take on what events will compress from Indy, what events that we have at Grand Park. The one thing we can't ever factor in is what's at the Rue, because the Ruhoff Home Mortgage Music Center, we call it the Rue, we can never find out, we can never get their calendar ahead of time to sculpt for our budget, because obviously they spend all winter booking those acts. And so sometimes there's anomalies. We have some super events from Indy, probably 5 that compress out. Gen Con is one of them, FFA is one of them. We've been working closely with their team on trying to retain FFA. That's hugely important for the economy of this county. And so we plan in for those super events, but sometimes Gen Con's in July and sometimes it's in August. So we sculpt our budget accordingly to those, we look ahead and we forecast.
Brenda, I'm sorry, you made some comment, you said something about you don't spend more than you take in, or on this one sheet we have, it shows you have a deficit of $138,000 this year.
I think we'll be even. We went in knowing that this was going to be a challenging year for some growth opportunities, and we've held back, and we'll be fine. We'll be fine. If you let us have additional appropriations, Rick, we'll be fine.
I'd love to see you come back and ask for additional money.
I will be coming back to ask. I think November is when I asked to come back. Is that right? Yeah.
I got a
Brenda, I
couple
want
questions.
to clarify something.
I'm looking at it as expenditures.
Yeah, I want to clarify something real quick.
This is revenue.
This is revenue, not
I'm sorry.
expenses.
That's all I
correct?
needed to know.
This is
I
my-
was looking at it as expenditures, so
She was thinking that someone was overspending.
I'm sorry. No, this is a revenue forecast report. I apologize.
That's okay.
I apologize.
She
So
was
that's
looking
why,
that way. She was
that's
looking
why
at my
June
month
is up
saying, "You're
12%
spending more
because I
than you
know
got
there's a
coming in."
super event
That
next year.
helps immensely, because
I'm
I'm like,
sorry.
why are we?
What doesn't help
That makes
is,
sense.
and it's, what doesn't help, and we're just so blessed to have Hamilton County's Treasurer's Office and Auditor's Office, because if you get your money through the state, they don't count it in every month, and so these almost closely match our revenue reports that we get off of STR. And whereas I sit on the CIB, and they'll be down 35% a month, and then they'll be up 65% a month. Does that make sense? Because IDOR just sort of dumps pots of money their way, so they don't really have any way of having the sort of sculpting that you do. But if I have a hotel not in compliance, we're the front line of defense, and Betsy Ecklock does an amazing job of, and so right now I think everybody's in compliance except for one small property, and they're working with us. It's, they collect the tax, they should remit the tax, and we all understand that.
Go ahead, Brad. You had a question?
Yeah, I had a couple of things. So looking at the 2019 budget hearing worksheet, your 2018,
We have additional revenues in there that are not tax revenues. Okay, sorry.
$5,126,000, and your request for 19 is $5,561,408, so the difference is $435,000.
Well, we're going to come in hopefully for additional appropriations this year, and of $119,000 that's left over from 17.
No, I'm just trying to
Right.
clarify.
And then, yeah,
And
and then
so
we have
it's
additional revenue this year as well. We're exceeding our goal this year.
$435,000 is the difference between last year and this year's request. Also, I want to say that Brenda and I had a telephone conversation, and I am in the camp of leasing office space. Our board thinks this way and thinks that way, but my feeling is if you need additional office space, go out and lease it just like you're a business in the community. The idea of buying buildings, while in the big picture may be more beneficial as far as you own the building, whatnot, but we had such a turmoil the last time that Visitors Bureau bought a building. I think, in my personal opinion, if they need more office space, they should lease it. Let's skip the buying of buildings and all the drama that goes with it. It's an expense. You're doing business, you got income, office space is an expense. You should go out, lease it at the regular going rate that any other business would buy it at. And one other thing, so my opinion, you should lease, not build buildings. And number two, can you give me a short explanation why we need to be in the most expensive real estate market in Hamilton County?
First of all, I feel like the developer has given us a pretty good deal on that real estate. I do think that visibility is important for us as opposed to some other entity. We do host a lot of meetings and convene a lot of partner meetings over the course of the year. Hundreds of people we convene. Also, it's just sort of access, but if you would like us to, we can look for a building. The other thing is, and I know that is talent attraction. It's a harder market out there when you're paying nonprofit wages, but one of the things that you can do is provide, the types of place that young people want to work in. And that's the other sort of caveat. I mean, I could work in a closet, so I really don't care, but I understand how important it is to communities. And then finally, we are not a normal governmental entity. We're a highly visible sales machine. And I think it's really important that we be out there and be a part of the community and be active in the community.
Brenda,
That's your answer for why you're in the most expensive?
But I also do think that we're getting a good deal. Yeah, we're getting a good deal.
Okay.
When you look at the square footage, unless we were going to go to the back of an industrial park, I don't think, we looked at buying buildings, we looked at, anybody who bought a proposal to us, we looked at it, and it was most cost-effective to choose the option that we did.
correct me if I'm wrong, but the county has the deed to the building.
Yes, it does have with a covenant on it that the money would revert to tourism. And I explained to Brad that if we did sell the building, then we would like to restrict any balance of funds to debt service reduction on our bond. We'd like to pay off our bond. But there is a covenant on the bill, it has to revert to the Tourism Commission, and I think they're in agreement with us that getting rid of that, calling that bond, when we have little over $2 million, I think, left on that bond, and it would be really great to start trying to look at a way to pay that debt service off so we can free up that $262,000 investment into more activity in the community and in the marketplace.
So that bond is strictly on the structure itself?
No, that bond is on projects that we invested in, but I'd like to take any balance of funds, restrict it to bond debt service payoff, and continue to try to put some additional funds towards that so that we can pay off your COIT-backed bond with our interlocal agreement earlier. So that bond is on other projects, but I'd like to just get it off our books so that we can free up that cash and do more things in the community.
Okay.
We have a long line of ideas.
Remind me again, so I feel, maybe it was 2 or 3 years ago, there was the building, the historic building that now is just sitting off of 69.
Yeah.
I thought, was that originally supposed to be something you were going to convert?
Yeah, we were
into an
looking at it
office?
as office space,
Right.
but the cost
Right.
it was too cost prohibitive. And also the city of Fishers, we're tax abated and that's high AV land. And so they wanted something with more AV potential. And so we've worked with them on an alternate plan, and that house will be moved. And we're going to work with them on a restoration project, but it'll mostly be cosmetic. It will not be usable.
That
Sitting in
house
the middle of
don't-
a roundabout, won't it?
It will be a piece of public art, Brad.
Did you buy that house?
No, the house was
Okay.
given to us.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Brad's got all the scoop on this?
We did spend money to move the house.
Right, I remember that.
Yeah.
Right. So is Fisher's going to pay to move the house now?
Yes, they will be paying to move the house. We've agreed to give it some lipstick.
How much lipstick?
25 this year and 25 next year. It's not very much money. I'm not sure how much cosmetic surgery we'll be able to get for that, but we'll at least get it structurally sound and pretty. And they're going to do all the landscaping and public art installation around it.
Okay. Any other questions for Brenda?
I'd like to see that statute. Can you get that for me? The one that says a nod is okay to hand out that type of cash?
Okay, the uniform innkeeper's tax?
That
Statute and the county
that
ordinance?
governs that type of accountability for
Well, I
spending.
guess my question is it's technically there'd be a liaison. If there's no voting, right? If there's no votes,
They vote to accept the contract. I mean, they vote to say, you're the people that are smart enough to spend the money, just make sure you let us know how you're spending the money. There are some tourism, there are some tourism commissions in the state that meet once a year, they write the check, and they meet the next year. And our tourism commission is more engaged than anybody I know with a two-tiered system in the state other than Marion County.
and I'm fine with that. I just don't think that there was a level of understanding on the structure prior to now on.
Apologize.
Yeah, that statute, I'd like to see it.
Do you guys pay property tax when you buy a building?
And we pay, the Nickel Plate pays property tax on our we own those two buildings down, we have, down here, and they pay property taxes on the for-profit artist rental space. I put that in air quotes. But they do pay property tax on that, but the rest is abated. We do not, but we do pay personal property or business tax on our equipment inside the building. We do not, we are not a real, funny enough, people don't like us because we don't pay property taxes. I bet you have a similar situation. So, they don't ever want us to take up prime real estate. So the fact that someone is willing to give us prime real estate without that is actually kind of surprising, to be honest with you.
Brenda, is the decision, has it been made?
No, we haven't signed anything.
What is going to be your timeline or?
Well, we were waiting for a final proposal from them, and then Brad told me not to sign anything, so.
You go on one person? I mean, Brad is one of 7.
I was waiting for today's hearing. Rick,
Okay.
And whatever comes out of the hearing. And if you all tell us not to buy, we won't buy.
What's the,
I'm not, you pick your battles, right? And that's just not why I'm going to.
Brenda, you talked about your board had gone through and financially you were saying it showed that it's better to own?
And the Tourism Commission has also given us the nod to own, the vote to own.
Could you share that homework or whatever that shows the numbers and why
I
it's
brought
better?
the one, but we'll do the whole calculator for you, yes.
Yeah, I just, maybe,
Okay, so
would it help
the
sit down with
tax
the finance
statute.
Doesn't help
committee?
me.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'm not saying I disagree with Brad. I'm just saying it'd be nice if you would involve all 7 of us versus
Well,
one person.
we had a telephone.
No.
Okay.
I said, Brad, what are the issues? And he said,
And
that's
I
an
talked to
issue.
Brenda too, but I didn't give her that type of instruction. But the point, and that I'm agreeing with Brad, is that you're in the most expensive area, and I'm saying right now, the way the market's so high, I'd rather you wait until the market dips before you buy, take advantage of that. And I'm just looking at, it's 94,000 more to lease than buy. That just seems exorbitantly high as well, but.
Between our partnership with HCEDC and us, we're spending about $50,000 now on lease space a year. So that, we didn't even account the fact that we will no longer be, so $50,000 of that money will
I
not
thought you
be.
were joining with the chamber. You guys were trying to come together and rent something together.
We were, but the cost of the size of the space was out of, we just couldn't afford it. So instead, we've agreed to have a 2,000 square foot communal meeting space that the chambers can use, that nonprofits can use to have small board meetings and things there, training sessions. It would be set up as a training center. When we want to do more, one of the things that Karen Radcliffe, who is our chief strategy officer, we had 160 people come to summer sessions for input. And the one thing that they want us to do is to share our marketing expertise with them and teach them. And so one of the things that we would like to do is work with perhaps the Leadership Academy and the chambers to do more and more hands-on learning about, I think marketing seems very easy, but I've been in the marketing business for 3 decades, and it's never been more complicated. Between social media and digital marketing and understanding the complexities of all that, it's very hard, and our staff really has a high level of experience in that area and could really share with the communities what they're doing.
Yeah, the one thing though, another thing that stuck out at me was the visibility thing. When I think of people that need visibility, it's like, I don't know, a restaurant, a retail outlet, things like that, people that got to generate revenue because they want people to see them and come into their business.
We're on the 4th floor.
I mean, for you though, so you're talking, when you say visibility, do you need, with that signage out front there, what does your group need
I
that
need an
for?
easy place for people, I need to be able to say to people, I'm on Range Line and Main Street. People come to our office all the time. We have literally, I don't even, 50, 75, 100 meetings a year.
You're thinking more of a clear location than actual visibility, signage and stuff
I mean,
like that.
we've looked at former bank buildings as an option, that are like on an outlot of a commercial, someplace where we could say that's where Hamilton County tourism is. And so in a week, we will be bringing in writers from all over the country. People who write for CNN, Travel Channel, national publications. And we bring them to our office at some point, when we have sales opportunities and we bring in people for FAMs or site visits, we'd love to have a place that says, this is where you're going to get oriented to the county, and now we're going to go out and see the county. So, and that's what, if you look at what other convention centers do, they're usually like on the top floor of a convention center, and then but they always have good AV, and they're great show places, and they're places where they convene people, and that's what we wanted. But, we can rethink that and look for another option.
I have a question. This is an esoteric question. I really am trying to understand. If a developer gives you a prime piece of property that's presently on the tax rolls, and he gives it to you, and you're no longer paying taxes on it, and in fact you're putting an improvement on it that would bring in tax dollars if he was, I'm trying to understand, as I say, this is an esoteric, I'm trying to
Mayor of
understand.
Carmel has really actively recruited us staying in Carmel, so he would be okay with that, I think. That's the answer to your question.
What spaces is he trying to push you towards a specific space?
Well, we issued an RFP, and we got bids in from a variety of places, and the one that was the most cost-effective was a space somewhere in South Rangeline area, not south-south, but, more of the south end of, below Midtown, and that was the one that was the most cost-effective for us. That's the one we're looking at right now. That's the one we have a draft offer on.
Brenda, I'm going to suggest that we'll have discussions, and then after budget hearings, you'll probably
Come
get
back.
further direction from what the council's wishes are.
I'll get you the 3 things that you've asked me for, and I'll send those right out to you.
I have one other question just regarding the makeup of your boards, because I know when we talked, there's a change that's anticipated that it will grow. And I just feel like the council maybe should understand that from...
We need to change our county ordinance. It's terribly out of date. It's been out of date, and the structure of the Tourism Commission, ironically, is more citizen than it should be, based on the state statute. So you'll see that the state statute requires that over 50% of our board be industry professionals, and they are not. Our Tourism Commission, be industry professionals, and they are not. So ironically, that Tourism Commission needs to be more industry-focused than it is. I love having a citizen Tourism Commission with only a couple of industry people, because they are eyes and ears for us, and they're advocates, and they're out in the community, and they bring me information. And we have a great relationship with I have 24 people I report to in addition to the 7 of you, and I love it. But we need to change that statute to be in compliance. The second thing that we need to be in compliance with is the statute currently lists Carmel as getting 3 appointments, and Noblesville is getting an appointment. And the commission leadership and the commission and I have worked through math, which is sometimes a struggle for me. And we have to probably move that government-appointed commission up to 15 in order to be able to, because we have 2 cities that are neck and neck on size. We need to change the language so that it doesn't say Carmel, but says largest city, and not, and second largest city, because very few people have the situation that we have, in that we have 4 large growing cities. And so we need to get that, and we've been waiting for that, because the other thing that the state just did as of July 1st was remove all political affiliations from the Tourism Commission requirement. So we will no longer have R's and D's. And I'm sad, because I bet all our D's get kicked off, and we have some really good D's. We have really good people who never bring their political affiliation, for the most part, to that meeting.
Which board is it that has like the 5 commissioner appointments? And
That one, the Tourism Commission.
So
the
it's
industry
5.
board is all appointed by us, by the board. It's like a typical nonprofit board, other than it's not a fundraising board.
Do they vote on anything? What's their function again? The ones that's not appointed by commissioners and council, what's their function there?
They're the governance oversight is.
They're the ones that vote.
They're the
Bob
ones
Dubois is
that.
the president of our Bureau Board,
They-
who can answer
not
questions.
our
So
board.
I have both of our presidents here, if you'd like to talk to them. They are a typical nonprofit oversight board. They ask questions. They authorize any expenditure over $2,000.
And that's the board so you guys appoint a board, and that board votes on spending, as opposed to the board that's appointed by the commissioners and commissioners and council.
Can Perry come up and talk?
No, you could, just
I've
quick
answered the
clarification.
question, I've answered the question 5 times, and I'm
Okay,
telling you
Brenda,
that they authorize our budget. Is that not correct, Perry?
But which board is Perry on? Is Perry?
He's the president of the Tourism Commission, which is the government-appointed board. Bob is the president of the Industry Board.
Okay, you didn't explain that 5 times. My job is to get clarification.
I'm
That's all
sorry,
doing,
I'm
okay?
not, I don't, you know.
Okay, now, because she just said, now what'd you just say, that the one that votes on the spending?
So you just need to make sure that you understand the jobs and responsibilities of each board. So you have your tourism commission and you have your appointed,
They're the watchdogs.
right.
They're the operators.
The ones we sit on, the ones where we have 2, commissioners have 5, Carl
Noble
has
has
3,
three.
Fishers has 1 right now, Noblesville has 1.
And Westfield has 1.
Right, and so that encompasses the watchdogs. They are saying, they're the nodders, okay?
Thank you, thank you.
The other ones, I'm just saying, they're the yes, but no official voting
Yeah.
capacity. The other board, is the one that actually controls the spending itself. Am I getting that correctly?
Thank you, Amy. You did
So
much better.
in
So
what-
our board just nods.
Just nods.
So let me compare it to something,
Right.
I'm liaison from the county council to the planning commission, but when we vote, it is strictly a recommendation to the
Right, like the
commissioners.
personnel committee.
So it's
like the
basically a
personnel-
nod, we do vote, but it is only a
Just
nod to
giving
the
it-
commissioners.
It's just like the personnel committee.
And that's the way that statute's written up, the way they just described it.
Absolutely.
It is a
By Senator
favorable
Luke Henley.
recommendation.
The Personnel Committee, though, does vote, would be my...
No, you vote. It's either, you recommend, a personal,
do
it's a
vote.
favorable
I would like to say
recommendation.
they do vote. I mean, they
Right.
vote to authorize a contract every year with us. They vote, they look at our budget, they scrutinize our budget, and they vote whether or not to enter into a contract with us. Now granted, it's a 3-year cycle, so it would take a couple of years to get rid of us. Only twice in Indiana have I ever heard of a commission firing an entity like mine, and in both cases, they rehired them back because the expense of rebuilding a brand was just astronomical. But no, we serve at the will of the commission.
So my question, just to make some sense, if you're the governmental bodies, we'll say, that board, gives an unfavorable recommendation, that still goes to your other board for review? Okay, I'm just making sure, it's legitimately how we would still function in personnel. So I think you guys have all been to a personnel committee meeting and understand how that functions.
That's the board that you basically pick.
So it's a committee, though.
Industry board, I try to represent a variety of, I try to make sure I have a retail person. I struggle getting a restaurant person on that one because restaurant people are very hard to get. I always try to have 3 hoteliers because they're remitting the tax, and we're not a normal bureau. I always try to have some people in chamber roles and/or, I have Al Patterson is on that board from Parks. I'm trying to, I have 13 members from the community. Oh, Andrew Newport with Live Nation, Ruhoff is on there, Norman Burns, the CEO of Conner Prairie, is on there, and the VP of Marketing for the Center for the Performing Arts is on there. Those are not official positions, but they are our 4 anchor attractions, so I try to make sure they have a seat on there as well. They recuse themselves on any votes, and if it's a discussion, they leave the room. We're accredited, so compliance is very important to us.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to the Health Department, Barry McNulty. Welcome.
We, for the most part, followed your guidelines. 2 things I did want to point out. We did I have asked for an increase in our part-time professional and our part-time clerical. We decided that, we're not going to try and go full-time people and just supplement with our part-time. They're extremely important to us, and we're just pretty much, I don't even have room for any more part-time or full-time people, so we're desk sharing with our part-times, but that's the only increase outside the guidelines.
That's just the way we like it, Barry.
All packed in tight and not spending money.
Any other questions for Barry?
And the other budgets that are in front of you are grant-based budgets on when they come due.
Thank you. Have a great
Guy
afternoon.
from West Nile this year.
Not that I'm aware of. We've had a number of West Nile pools and mosquitoes, but no, not that I'm aware of. Trying to.
Yeah.
So,
Nice to
thank
see
you.
you,
That
Barry.
it?
Thank you. Thanks, Barry.
Thanks, Barry.
Thank you, Barry. Go, Barry.
Here's your opportunity.
Barry's gonna stick around in case you guys wanna go fishing afterwards.
Al, good afternoon. Hope all you're feeling well, I hope.
Yeah, that's all.
Better?
Better.
Okay.
Here. Didn't understand.
Well, Brad's not here. I'll ask real quick. Do you follow the guidelines?
No,
You looking for any new hires?
yes.
Okay.
I mean, other than just a couple places, I did follow the guidelines, but I did ask for 2 new hires and additional money in,
So no, it's no.
in the 4,000 series for playground.
Right.
Okay.
Sorry, Brad, I stole your thunder. I asked you 2 questions.
Not in the
He didn't fight, he didn't, he's not
Did he
compliant.
tell you about the injuries he's got this year?
No? So there you go. You can ask something. So he's not in compliance.
I'd rather
with what you
those
people-
not be on the public record.
Quick question for you, Al. You got, under infrastructure, 2018, 359,781. 2019 says 625, and you have a couple $100,000 of unencumbered money there already under that was never spent.
Wait a minute, what are you talking about?
Under infrastructure?
Yes.
Yeah. There's 200,000 sitting on the table on that, unencumbered. So, I mean, shouldn't that be at least a couple $100,000 less, that request on infrastructure?
Well, I mean, we've got projects underway, all that money is in this year's budget.
I know, but there was money left over from what I'm looking at here under encumbrances.
Under encumbrances.
Yeah, it didn't get spent under there.
From 2017 to 2018?
Yeah,
But
exactly.
it is getting spent, it did get spent this year. Those signs are under construction right now. We had that money reappropriated earlier this year, and it is being spent right now.
Okay.
Because we didn't have, we did
When we
not,
voted, I'm sorry, go ahead.
we didn't have contracts at the end of last year ready to move it forward, and so we waited and came back and reappropriated it this year.
You have that, Madam Auditor, when we appropriated that? Do you know what date? Okay, you're looking for that? Okay.
How many employees do you have now?
Full-time employees, we have 17. I apologize, I wasn't prepared
I
to
guess
answer
I
that
could count
question.
those.
That's when it was, April.
So it is there?
So, the biggest changes in the places where we went outside of the request was in the 2 positions, adding a skilled trade specialist and event coordinator position. And in the documentation that I gave, it spells out exactly what that adds to payroll, group insurance, retirement, and Social Security. And then, as I spelled out in the email, I also added $400,000 for a playground at Cool Creek. That playground gets a lot of use and a lot of love, and it's gone far beyond its normal lifespan. And so we're really excited about this new design. I think it's really cool. We just replaced the one at Geist last year, and this is the next one that really needs to be replaced in our system.
Do you have an idea, Al, if we say go, when it will be done?
If you say go, I mean, I gotta wait till the budget, but I can probably lock in prices and everything at the end of the year, and it'll start construction in spring, and it'll be ready. It won't
I
take
didn't
very
know if you were
long.
gonna have to wait until March, or if you can start January, February, taking stuff
Oh, I
out.
can start January, February, yeah. It should be ready for the main play season.
Just so make sure I understand it completely clear,
Yes.
and not tell myself stories, but skilled trades specialist, what would they do?
That individual would be part of our staff, probably would be based out of Strawtown, Kotewee. We only have 2 full-time maintenance positions up there, so it would be based out of there, work primarily out of there, but then be on hand and available anywhere in the system.
And that would be
And-
funded out of the county and not out of any other funds that you have?
Correct,
Okay.
yes. Yep.
Are any of your maintenance folks funded out of other funds or all out of county?
All out of county.
Okay.
Outstanding young man, has really been putting in his dues as a part-time employee, has a young family, local Hamilton County kid, and would be an outstanding addition to our team, full-time addition.
Anybody else got anything? You guys are gonna need to look at that new lawn that they're buying.
Okay.
Parking in the neighbor's yard. It was a good year for kayaking and
Oh,
canoeing.
yeah, we need to expand it.
Yeah, I need to knock that hill down, flatten it out, just so they
Yeah.
have someplace to go.
Okay, we can do that.
Busy place.
Oh, yeah. You know, we're getting incredible amounts of use. The river's getting a lot of attention, a lot of use, and, yeah.
Thank you, Al.
All
Have a
right,
great afternoon.
thank you.
See ya.
Monica, Council on Age, Alcohol and Drugs.
Wait a minute, you gotta wait for Al to limp away.
There, I'm getting there.
Okay.
Hi, Monica.
Okay.
Yes, I did go against the guidelines. I did.
How long have you been in your position?
March.
Were you here when I talked to Mr. Booker?
No.
We'd like you to follow council guidelines.
Do what?
We'd like you to follow council guidelines,
I know. I respect that.
but not enough to follow council guidelines.
Well,
Well,
I'm sorry. The reason that I did have to go against it, and I submitted a memorandum explaining, all of the money that we give out are through grants, and the line items that we give out, prevention, treatment, and law enforcement grants, I had to go above operating, rentals, and equipment due to those.
Is it one of those where you have to, it's a match type thing? Or is it you went above because the grants coming in will be bigger, so you just needed to put it
I
on paper?
anticipate that they will be bigger than what they have been in the past. I know definitely that the Suburban North Club is increased, and I will probably have to come in November, I'm guessing, for additional appropriation for that. We approved the grant for their rental supplement to the rental expenses from $1,000 the previous year a month to $1,200. So it did, we originally had in the budget $12,000 to cover those costs, but we will need to increase due to that.
And that's not coming out of general fund, that's you're requesting to move it from the grant fund into a fund that you can use.
I say grants, we don't have a particular grant fund itself. We, all of our funds are through the drug interdiction fees that come in, so our board approves grants to go back out into the community. These are not grants that we've received,
Okay.
but it's the money that we receive from the county user fees. And again, all of these are anticipated. I don't know for sure if we'll go over. I am guessing for the other two categories, the operating supplies, our prevention grants, the last few months, we have received several evidence-based prevention programs in the schools, and we want to accommodate for those and provide funding for that. The past few years, our council hasn't been able to get some buy-in from the schools on the evidence-based programming, but we have this year, so we're hopeful to be able to get into more schools with that.
So for the rentals you got listed here, you're saying you get that money coming in through fees?
Yes, all of this money is fees, it's not
Okay.
anything else.
So it's not, you're not asking to come out of
see,
the general fund?
see, that's your saving grace right there.
Yes, it's
Yeah,
not.
That's
it's
what I was trying to get at. It's not coming out of the general fund. This is coming in from
That's your
fees.
key phrase right there. This is
I
not
should've
general
started
fund
with
This is
money.
not general fund money. This is coming out of fees.
Yes.
That are, and as you said, that are coming in higher than what you had expected.
Yes.
That would be a good opening statement, actually.
Yes.
This is not general fund
Can I
money.
start over?
Keep that in mind.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Monica Carrera. No. But yes.
Okay.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure, because I was thinking you were going down that road, that you don't
Yes.
want any general fund money. This
Oh,
is
no.
money that's coming in elsewhere. You just want to be
I just
appropriated.
have to have it in the right category.
Gotcha.
Is the North Suburban location, is that like an alcohol program?
Yes,
Okay.
alcohol and drug, they offer several meetings a week for
Yeah.
people, support group meetings.
And just so you know, Amy said it, and I agree, that you did adhere to the guidelines.
Yes,
You
I
didn't
did.
ask for new money from the general fund.
right?
Well,
Am I wrong?
Or it's already wrong.
There were guidelines in
she's an
certain
exception,
categories.
just like Ralph is.
Yeah.
His money comes, but as far as the general fund is concerned.
Yeah.
Right. So in essence, yes, you did. So next time, just go, yes, I did, except remember last year when I was here and I maybe, just, you're good.
Okay.
No
Thank you.
general fund money.
Any other questions for Monica?
Yeah, I do. under the 45, the $2,500 for law enforcement equipment, that's
Yes.
never been there before?
Yes, there has been money there, it's just an additional $3,000. Originally, we had budgeted $25,000, I bumped that up to $28,000 for the upcoming year, just anticipating that we might get more law enforcement grants.
Monica, I'm looking, maybe I'm the other one, the alcohol and other drugs. It has 0 for 2016 and 2017, and then 2,500 in this year.
For actual grants given out.
Line 4,500 for the, that's what I
Machinery
thought.
and equipment.
Expenditures, is that what you, okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm speaking of a different fund. Yes. 1148 is the fund I've been talking about. I have two funds. 1149 is the other. 4911, thank you. That's our other account. That account is revenue. I came in earlier this year, maybe it was before I came in. We had some funds that were in the Traffic Safety Partnership account that it was administrative funds that were never spent, so we kept that in the 4911 account for expenditures that do not meet the criteria for the 1148 account. So if someone came in that was let me give you an example of what we've spent. So the youth service awards that we have part of that program comes out of 1148 for the prevention dollars, but we like to supplement the non-winners with some money to go towards their education after high school. So we use that fund to help give some scholarship money to the non-winners. So that's just an example of what we use that for. We also use that for supplies, meeting supplies. So does that answer your question? We will never use that money for law enforcement equipment because we have the other fund that will,
For 4911, is what you're saying.
4911, we will never use that for law enforcement.
1148 you do. Do we have something that shows us your income for the 4911, 1148?
I don't know if you have anything at your fingertips. We, through the end of August, we have collected $92,371.90 in the fund. And those drug interdiction fees are what goes back out to the grants for prevention, law enforcement, and treatment into the community.
So the total we're looking at for 257,000 is a lot of it coming from county general. Am I confused? Okay. So what makes up the difference?
The money rolls over, so there's always money in that account, and we always collect each year. So we don't spend the full amount in the account each year.
So you're asking for 257,000. You have 92,000 collected. 160,000, again, I'm just giving an approximate, comes from where? And I don't know if it's you or Dawn or Robin.
The 92,000 is just what we've collected this year. We have a balance in the fund.
So you're living off reserves, is what you're saying? Just
It
roughly.
looks like that on paper. We really don't. With the state statute, we have to allocate 25% in each category. We never spend the amount that we allocate in each category, except for salary. It's all user fees.
Okay. Dawn, Robin, you guys agree?
The revenue is now, through today, is 105,000 collected.
The balance is what?
275,000.
Okay.
And just as an example, in the prevention category, We have spent $19,901 to date. In the treatment category, a little over 4,000, criminal justice, a little over 6,000. So like I said, we allocate a lot more than what we spend, except in the administrative side.
Any other questions? Thank you, Monica.
Thank you.
Mike, I think you have a good concept of your job for no longer you've been in it. I
Oh,
appreciate
thank
that.
you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Have a great afternoon.
You too.
Davis is not here. Would the council like to?
I have something if possible, Mr. President.
Yeah, what? I'm sorry?
Something if I could speak just real quick.
Sure.
One thing, when everybody departed for lunch, Robin, John, and I had discussed a few things, because I noticed that on the increases of salaries, I thought that they seemed low, and that is in fact correct assumption. If you remember when our meeting occurred, we all met in the back for either executive session or work session. It was discussion over the WIS updated grids that had come in, and we did not adopt the implementation of those grids. And so just as a note of reference, if we were, in order to avoid these, the 2 years or whatever it may be, it's roughly 2.05 million that is not accounted for within the figures that you guys would have looked at this point. So we're $5 million out of budget, or out of balance, is that correct?
Well, it looks like Mike gave us plenty of places to pull from, that's the good news. So,
I know we had all talked about it, and it seemed that there was a level of understanding, but
That we had back there.
there were way more than those. I feel like we had way more than that, but there were grids and all sorts of bigger documents.
Assumptions here.
I can't,
6/8/18, the WIS study, and talked about
Have me redo it.
the different
yeah, it was
choices.
redone because it was,
726, I sent
Yeah,
you.
that's what that one
You wanted
was.
a simpler.
it's just whether or not you find it.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, so just as a note of reference, what's accounted for is not those dollars.
Raises haven't been
Correct.
figured in.
Well, raises are figured in, but not a scale change.
Raises are figured in, but not scaled.
Well, the raises at the percentage of, or just moving up a level, right? So they're moving, everybody got moved up based on the department heads' assessments of their employees. They were either shifted up, stayed the same, whatever they decided. But those calculations were from 2017's figures, right?
So the
Or,
raises.
16.
The raises,
2016
there is a raise in the budget, but
of like what percent? Right,
yeah.
yep.
Okay. Do we want to take just a few minutes break? We're ahead of schedule. Let's do 5 minutes.
Yep, all right.
Yes, sir.
Back in session for our budget hearings. And next up on the agenda is the Highway Department. Brad Davis. Good afternoon.
I was trying to decide if being last is a good thing or a bad thing.
Well, last for today.
Well,
Yeah, we didn't value you tomorrow, so feel good about it.
Yeah.
okay, all right. Our budget submittal isn't terribly different than previous submittals, and we are in a little bit of an unusual period where we have a significant amount of federal aid projects that are coming to lettings 2019 and the end of this year as well. So it's a little bit high in the ask on some because of the federal matches that we need to meet. Particularly in the MVH, the request is a little over what I projected our revenues to be, but I think we have sufficient money to cover that. The good news, I think in 2020, a lot of these will drop off, so we'll have some relief a little bit budgetary-wise from federal aid things anyway in 2020. Our major bridge request is to help support the continued work on Allisonville 146th Street. That's a major portion of that, as well as potentially work at Pleasant Street in White River on the Pleasant Street corridor. Local Road Street isn't much different than past years, and the Highway Special 4907 Fund is comprised mostly of the move of our wages out of MVH to this fund that accounts for about $3.5 million wages and benefits of that request. The other part of that request that leads up to the $5 million ask is the matching funds for 276th Street, the Phase 2 of 276th Street. That is in that 4907 request, as well as an agreement with Fishers that we have that is for 96th Street between Lanham Road and Cumberland Road. That project is anticipated to go to letting as well, and we've got a certain not-to-exceed commitment on that for our portion of that project. So that's what leads up to the 5.2 in the 4907 request. So Cum Cap is a little bit less, I think, than previous years, but it will support what we intend to do with small structures and some bridge projects in 2019. So,
Don, I have a question. I'm sorry, were you finished, Brad?
I can be.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you if you were.
He's been having a heck of a lot of.
I was just saying that this request will support our federal aid obligations and what we intend to do, as well as give us close to our record paving year of $3 million that's in the Motor Vehicle Highway Fund, as well as allowing us to, with materials, to chip seal about 55 miles of road. So it would be a good year for us next year with all the construction and the federal aid projects, as well as being able to increase our paving program a little bit and complete our maintenance program with the chip seals. So yeah, I'm done now, Steve.
I just had a question more for Dawn. In the second paragraph, it talks about the reimbursements back to the original funding source, which I assume is the county general, that $4 million. What's that original funding source?
Well, it depends on where the project was paid from to begin with.
Yeah, Steve, I can answer that maybe for you if you'd like.
I guess the second half of that question is, did Mike Reuter, did he calculate that into his, because I didn't see that in his report, that $4 million in reimbursements.
It comes back, Steve, to various funds, and it won't all come back next year either. So
I understand, but, you know, over time,
it would come back, yeah.
you know,
He's going, Mike is going to pick that up in his revenue projections, because he looks back 18 months and is projecting forward 18 months.
so it does show in the reimbursements.
It'll show on the revenue, yes.
Brad, my question, were you done, Steve?
Yes, I'm done, thank you.
Under Major Bridge, you have $2 million allocated for Allisonville 146. What exactly is?
I don't have the breakdown, but part of it is for professional engineering services. All we've done so far is just do an initial analysis of the intersection to get alternative types. We haven't really launched into the design hard just yet. And the other part of it is to do some right-of-way acquisition, hopefully later next year.
You've got a while before that project's really going to break ground, right?
That project is, it has federal money. It's about $9.5 million of federal funds.
How much?
9.5. We were very fortunate.
Yeah.
You know, here's the thing. We approved $1 million last year to start looking.
Yeah, it was 2 million. 2 million.
3 million?
It was 3 million.
You approved the money to be, I think, appropriated out of the Major Bridge Fund.
I thought it was 3 million for the engineering and design of 146 Allisonville, including the bridge.
I don't believe that's all in a line item right now.
No, the number's out in the other, and Dawn is the one with the laptop and access, right? Do you remember what we approved for that?
If you approved anything, it would be on this budget document.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brad, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I just want to vocalize this so you're sure. In my memory, I remember approving $1 million some dollars to start engineering. There is not consensus to spend $30 million at 146. So use that for what it's worth, and you have your own bosses to talk to, but be sure of what commitments you got before you commit us to too much. $1 million is one thing, $30 million is another thing.
I agree.
Is that a joint project right now, Brad? Fishers, Noblesville, Hamilton County? Is that
146 Allisonville?
yeah,
No, it is not. It's a county project.
county project?
Is it county-owned intersection?
146 is county.
146th Street is.
Yeah.
The
Okay,
major
so
road is.
Allisonville, that whole area is all county-owned? That the project would take place?
The intersection, yes, we
Okay.
control that intersection, correct.
Bridge 209, Brad, that's not the same project, right?
No, I think that
Yes, it
bridge
is.
was the, oh,
That's where you're putting it.
I remembered earlier this year, we did something for the bridge for Noblesville, kind of the, if that's what
That's the
you're talking
Logan
about.
Street Bridge you're probably thinking
Yeah,
about.
well, I thought it was the, going south here.
The Pleasant Street Bridge?
Yeah, Pleasant Street.
Right, we have some money invested in that right now, too.
I don't know if that's what you were thinking, but that was like an $800,000 thing, I think.
Now, that'll be an expensive bridge also. I just understand that we approved money for design, we've been buying right away, and I assume you're operating on the idea that at some point in time, we're going to pull the trigger on $30 million for 146 and a half.
Right, and I think the intent at the time when that comes would be to bond against Major Bridge for that, and we've worked that into our cash flow.
Yeah. I may be speaking out of turn, I'm not sure there's consensus to spend $30 million on that intersection.
I know, Commissioner Harebrant and I had talked, and I think Commissioner Altman, went back and forth, that I was looking to have support from Noblesville and Fishers, and that they basically don't want to help and feel that it should be 100% ours. So that was my reluctance to take the full freight, because I thought that they should share some, since it will benefit them immensely, so.
I would like to just direct this question back to the council. I mean, if you vote to give 2 million, 3 million, whatever it was, for the study, and you don't at the time have support from Fishers and Noblesville, I mean, when is anybody under the impression that we weren't going to spend the full amount to do the project if we didn't have buy-in from the two other communities? If we gave them money to do the study to begin with?
To firm up the number.
Just to firm up the number? That's all that was?
Again, for this building.
This building right here, I was under the impression that we were going forward too, so that was a different story. But, I'm just saying that, you gave them the money for that. There's no buy-in from the other communities. I would think there should be buy-in too. I'm with Rick on that, but I mean, if you don't think that we're gonna vote to give that, any money for that project, it should probably just, there should be a vote on that real quick and slow that thing down.
That's why
I want to make sure I understand. So just to make sure I'm putting this into perspective. So I'm hearing 146th Street, obviously it's county, right? And Fishers and Noblesville don't see justification, even though there's shared portions, because it is county. Got it? But on 37, we ponied up a whole lot of money.
12 million.
Yeah.
Correct. That we didn't have to, right? In theory. So I'm just trying to understand this. So we say yes, and then when we go back and say, hey, maybe we figure out some sort of collaboration here, we get no's. Is that what did I understand that right? Is that right?
We all agreed, to participate with the 37 project from the very beginning
No,
as a partnership.
right. I'm just looking at this from we could give money, but then, okay.
I think what she's asking is what part of 37
Is
is
county.
county owned?
The 146th
Okay, so
Street
just
location.
146th, right?
Correct.
Okay. I just wanted that to be.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would say to that is, that's when they come back for more Highway 37 money, you take that kind of thing into consideration.
No, I think we're already on the hook for half, I think.
Yeah, we've already paid our.
So, saying.
How's that, what's the I noticed you're making a lot of progress on that flyover, 146th Street, that's looking pretty good there. That's next spring we're looking at?
Very well. It's probably, I think it's reached its 50% mark, so halfway there. With good work, I think their intent to have things kind of opened up by the end of this year. Technically, it isn't scheduled to be completed until middle of next year, but they should be paving the roundabout at the Lowe's entrance, and they set the beams about a week ago. So it's taking shape. You're right, it's looking good.
Okay, any other questions for Mr.
Just real
Davis?
quick, Pleasant Street, has Noblesville moved forward on picking a street location of what they're going to use, a map or?
My last word I got on Pleasant Street, it's all on hold.
Okay,
City has it all on hold, so
okay, good enough.
I'm not sure where they're at exactly.
It's interesting they got city elections next year.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I do. I don't want to keep beating a dead horse or even a live horse. Phase 3 of 146th Street, you said you got federal aid money?
Correct.
$9 million worth of federal aid.
No, $9.5 million was for the 146 Allisonville Road intersection.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So what is 146 phase 3?
Phase 3 is west, out west. It's the next mile segment. Correct, yeah, and there's federal aid in that as well. With luck, we'll have that to letting late this year, but it could slip a month.
You have, on the 146 in Allisonville, you have a commitment for federal aid of $9.5 million.
Correct, through the Indianapolis MPO.
Okay. And you do or don't have any type of engineering done on that now?
There's some engineering done. What we did was we engaged the firm to reevaluate the traffic analysis to verify that the interchange was justifiable, and it is. And then we had them look at some different alternates on different types of interchanges to look at to see what might be the best to fit in the area, and that's kind of where we're at this stage.
Are you asking for any money in 2019 for that project?
Yes, out of Major Bridge, we are. $2 million.
That's just what I'm saying, it's on top of the 3.1 that was.
I don't remember the 3.1, Rick, so
I'm gonna look for it.
I'll look for it
I'll look
myself
for it.
when I get back. so.
We're at 2.1, 3.1. Numbers are all over the place.
Pretty soon we're at 40 million.
Yeah, we're getting
I
there.
don't know, it's come to remember.
I thought it was 2 too, but who knows?
I don't remember what was appropriated.
Either late last
I
year.
don't
or
think it
early
was
this
that
year.
much, but
I'll look
I'll go
for it.
look again as well.
I'll email you.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you, Brad. Sure. See you tomorrow.
Am I supposed to be here tomorrow?
Oh.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was like, wait, what?
Brad took the day off. He's like,
Thanks, Brad.
Sorry for the shake-up there.
where are we at?
We are done according to my agenda.
Are we doing anything else with, are we doing all deliberation type stuff tomorrow?
I'm not sure I'll be able to recollect.
I have a document that I typed up for everything that was discussed today, and I can print it and give it to you guys if you would like. Well, highway
Quotes and
was
everything?
a little less info, but.
You want to kind of go through it, make sure no one wants to add anything to it? Or make sure you remember?
Sure, I can just, well, I mean, as far as the total, so obviously I discussed with you the 2.05 million, that if we utilize the WIS study, that's needed, okay, so just as a note of reference. Assessor adhered, aviation adhered, the auditor asked for an increase of a little over 28K for the UMBA.
No way.
Clerk adhered, community corrections adhered, coroner asked for new full-time hire, it's 42,000 plus benefits. Council adhered, judicial services, an increase of 33,900 for a part-time research attorney for courts 4, 5, and 6. Pretrial adhered, YAP adhered, ISS asked for an increase for cybersecurity and professional service agreement increases of 50K. Surveyor asked for an increase for drainage attorney of 1,225 and the drainage fund of 95K, just a little over. Prosecutor asked for increase with 2 new full-time deputy prosecuting attorneys, 62,800 in salary per prosecutor plus benefits. EMA, 10,600 in line item increases plus a full-time GIS analyst amount of $56,800 plus benefits. Extension planning and the recorder all adhered. Soil and water asked for an increase of $1,000 of operating and transportation. Treasurer adhered. Probation asked for just an increase of $2,000 to $3,000 for pay adjustment for 1 employee. Solid waste was a rental increase of 20K. Tourism was an increase. Go ahead.
I don't want to.
No, I'm almost
I
done.
don't want to screw things up.
Yeah.
Solid waste is their own fund, not county general.
Okay. Thank you kindly.